Hey, Daan here, and in this video I'm going to give you 7 reasons why advertising for accounting services sucks. So this may sound weird because everything I do every single day is running ads for accountants, and I oftentimes talk about why running ads for accounting firms is the best thing that you can do for growth, but I also think it's fair to actually give the downsides of advertising for accounting services specifically. This is not only for accounting services, it can also be for bookkeeping, tax, or fractional CFO services. It's just advertising for all the services that an accounting firm can offer. And I'm not going to, of course, tell you why it's sometimes harder to advertise as an accountant. Of course, I'm also going to give you a couple ways that you can actually compensate for the downsides so that you can actually find a solution to the downsides of advertising for your accounting firm. So I'll quickly share my screen and let's dive right in. Okay, so we are in my spreadsheet over here, and these are the 7 reasons why advertising for accounting firms can suck. Why it's sometimes a little higher, why it sometimes it's a little harder to actually advertise for an accounting firm, and most importantly, the solution to this issue or downside. So, reason number 1, high cost per client because lifetime value. So the first point is having a high cost per client because a high LTV. So if you compare advertising for accounting firms with advertising for a gym, for example, the cost per client is way higher. And that's simply because the lifetime value is also higher. So let's say that you close a client for a gym membership and they pay you $100 per month, and maybe they start gymming with you for like 2 years. That's, I think, pretty average. And sometimes you only have to pay $100 to get that client, right? However, if you are going to advertise for your accounting firm and you want to get clients that pay you $1,500 per month, of course, you're not only going to pay $100 for the client. The platforms that you are going to advertise on, they know that the return on investment of such a client is very high. So they are going to charge more for the impressions and clicks. So it is more expensive to actually get an accounting client or a tax planning client, for example, or a bookkeeping client, because the lifetime value is so high. If you get a client and you provide a decent service, not even an out of the world service, but a decent service, they will stay with you for many, many years. So not only they are going to pay you more per month than $100 for a gym membership, but they will also be a client for longer. So although that the return on investment is higher, you need more upfront money to actually get to the client. And of course, you will get more referrals from it and they will bring you a lot of money. If you have a low advertising budget, it takes a little longer before you get the client. So how you can actually solve this is consistency, having a long-term vision, having an okay service with higher retention. So if you are going to advertise for your accounting firm and you're already going to say, I'm only going to do this for a month, I can almost guarantee you that it will not be successful for you. So you need to have consistency. If there's no consistency in the data gathering, and if there's no consistency in changing the ad copies, changing the titles or the targeting so that you optimize, then you will never get the maximum results. So let's say that the first month is just all for data gathering and you are only going to advertise for a month, then you essentially burned your money for data and you just stop the advertising at the point where you finally will be able to get a lot of the clients. So you need consistency, you need a long-term vision too. So let's say that you want to get clients that pay you 5,000 per month, a higher ticket client. It's unrealistic to say I only want to spend $100 to get this client. So you need to have a long-term vision and you need to realize, okay, if I'm going to advertise for these types of clients, I will not get such a client every single week. Of course, you also need to have an okay service. And the reason why I say okay, not an out of the world service, because oftentimes if an accounting client comes to you, they typically don't want to switch. For a business owner, it's very hard to find a good accountant to win that trust again. And they just don't want to spend their time with switching. It also costs them money because of it taking time for them. So of course it's ideal if you have the best service, but even if you have an okay service, a lot of the times the retention is very high. So you fix the issue with having a high cost per client by having a high retention and of course decent pricing. If you are underpricing, then you will have a harder time to actually make a return on the investment than your competitors. And that's also, by the way, why the best accounting firms have the best marketing campaigns, can spend more on getting a client. So let's say with Google or any other search platform, it's a bidding system. If you can charge more for your services, then you can charge more for certain clicks. And let's say that you only charge $1 more than your competitor, which means that you get the best quality clicks, you will also get the best clients. And the return on investment is insane if you just pay $1 more, but get clients that are now going to pay you $500 per month more for 5 to 10 years. So that's how you fix the first issue, high cost per client. You just need to be able to actually have a very long lifetime value and a long-term vision. Then let's go to number 2, a longer sales cycle. So in the ideal situation, and it is possible by the way, but in the ideal situation, you want to schedule a meeting with someone, get paid on the same meeting, get them onboarded and get started the week after. This happened, by the way. I actually recorded also client interviews where clients of mine have 30 minutes phone calls with leads and they directly convert them and get paid on the phone call itself. But this typically only happens if there's no business partner and if there's a lot of urgency. So in this case where the client of mine closed a $3,000 retainer, the person had a very big issue in the company. So the urgency was very high and it was just a very good fit, and he was the sole owner. So he was the only decision maker. Thing is, if you want to work with bigger businesses, sometimes they have business partners. And of course, they need to discuss this if you don't bring them on the meeting. And sometimes they also don't know the number of invoices. They don't know what bookkeeping software they use, or they don't know how to actually get the files to you. So sometimes you're not even able to actually give them a quote the first time you talk with them. So that's why there is a longer sales cycle, which can be a downside, because again, if you spend $1,000 on ads, you maybe get a great potential client from it, but they maybe only become a client a month later, which can feel kind of discouraging for you. Now, how you can solve this? Having an optimized sales process, automations and urgency. So having an optimized sales process, what you want to do is, if you have the meeting, you schedule the meeting with the potential client, first of all, always ask, do you have business partners and can you get them on board? Then if you ask them, do you want to do it, then you can discuss this with both of them, which speeds up the sales cycle. And you can also just ask them, please make sure that you are aware of the finances, and in the ideal situation, give me access to your document so that I can directly give a quote. So in the ideal situation, you want to have all the decision makers in the meeting and already get access to their documents so that you can already give them a quote, and you are already up to date about what is going on in their business. So having an optimized sales process is a big one. Also automations. So if you don't close the deal on the first meeting, the first appointment, of course you need to follow up with them. So first of all, you want to schedule a second meeting during the first meeting so that there is a bit more urgency, which I will touch base later on. But you also need to make sure that you have some form of automations. You need to remind people of the meeting, but also after the meeting, make sure that you have a template of a summary of the meeting so that there's another touch point. You want to make sure that there are some ways that you are automatically following up with them if they are not a client yet. Because if you need to do it manually, we all know there are days that you are very busy, especially during tax season, and you are simply not going to follow up. And then you are going to miss out on an extra touch point, which will make the sales cycle even longer. And then urgency. Urgency is a huge one. I've already talked about this in another client interview where the client actually told me that he found that the sales conversion rate is way higher during tax season. That's simply because there is literally a deadline of when they need to make a decision. And you need to create urgency for the actual client. So let's say that your client is not implementing certain bookkeeping or tax strategies, and you know that it's costing them $1,000 per month.
just tell them, hey, John, I appreciate you came here and I appreciate that you maybe want to think about it, right? You want to make the right decision, but just be aware by not working with me, it's costing you $1,000 every single month, which is directly creating a lot of urgency. And this is also not fake urgency, it's literally happening. You can just show them the books. So you need to have urgency so that they make the decision faster. So that's also why you can actually have a shorter sales cycle. And the reason also why you always want to have a meeting booked in the calendar if someone did not pay you yet is because if there's a meeting scheduled in their calendar, there's also a deadline for them to give you the documents and also to talk with their business partners and to make a decision to come on board with you or not. So longer sales cycle, it simply sometimes can take a little while before you get paid and before you see the fruits of your labor and see the return on investment. And you can speed up the sales cycle by having a better sales process, getting all the decision makers there, getting access to the documents, by having automations and creating that real urgency. Now, then number three, low search volume with niche keywords. In another video, I already talked about that going niche with marketing can be a really good thing, and I think I may upload another video on exactly why this is. But the only downside with niche advertising is that if you have a very specific niche, it can be very hard to find them. There are always ways to find them, but it can be harder. And if you are doing search advertising like Yahoo, Google, or Bing, then of course they need to make a search accounting firm for construction companies or accounting firm for real estate business. And it's a very specific search, which is great, it's high intent, but the downside to this is that not that many people make that search. So for example, if you work with chiropractors, I've already tested this, there is not enough search volume to get enough impressions and clicks to make a campaign where you can spend a couple thousand of dollars per month to get those clients, which at some point, of course, you want to be in a situation where you can just put in an extra thousand and make an extra thousand, right? If you have a good campaign, it's literally as easy as that. So that's the downside if from going niche, which is one of the best strategies with your accounting firm, but it also has a downside. But there, of course, is also a solution. So you can do retargeting on other platforms, multiple niches, optimized landing page, and sales process to pay high cost per clicks. So retargeting on other platforms. Let's say that you run a search campaign and you get traffic from people looking at the landing page, right? They click, they make a search, accounting firm for chiropractors, and they land on your landing page. Now, let's say that this person is not going to convert. Doesn't mean that it ends there, because you can actually get this data. So you can actually put a little code on your website. Sometimes it's called a pixel, other times it's called a Google tag. And you can then retarget people on other platforms. So you can, let's say that you run a Facebook ad, you can use Google Display. So you can put your tag on your landing page or your website and retarget the people on different websites, so that you can still spend more money in the campaign, of course, make more money from the campaign, and still get leads from that specific industry. Then another thing is having multiple niches. It doesn't mean that if you are going to run a campaign, a niche campaign, that you only have to pick one niche. So for example, we have a lot of clients in the medical space where we run ads for physicians, doctors, that's of course very closely related, but also for dentists, for people, just general nurses, if they work with travel nurses and they have tax issues, all of that stuff. So you can pick a broader industry and go sub niche, which is a great thing, and then have multiple sub niches. Then the message is resonating even more, and you can still spend more money on those sub niches. Then another thing, optimized landing page. I will actually also say optimized ads so that you can get more clicks per impressions, and also sales process to pay higher cost per clicks. So having an optimized landing page is crucial for success. So let's say that there is low amount of impressions in your industry. There are only so many people in the industry, or so many people making specific searches. Then all you need to do is make sure that from all of those impressions you get most clicks, so that you can still get most people on the landing page. And then you just need to make sure that you convert the most amount of people. So let's say per day there are only 100 people looking for accounting services for chiropractors, then you need to make sure that out of those 100, as many people click on your ads. So you need to make sure you have the best ads so that you can get most leads. So even if there is a low amount of people looking for your services online, or low amount of people in your niche in general, as long as the message that you put out there is really resonating with them, you can still spend money on clicks and impressions, because more people will see it because they engage with it. And if you have a very high optimized landing page, then even if you get less clicks, you can still generate the same amount of leads because more people are converting. And if you then also have a really good sales process, so instead of converting 1 out of 10 leads, you convert 5 out of 10 leads, then of course you can also pay more for the clicks, so you can outbid the competitor. So let's say that your competitor is paying $10 for a click, chiropractor accountant, and you are going to pay $15 for a click. Then it will mean that you are going to get all the clicks, all the traffic, all the leads and the clients, because you convert more of them. So you are able to actually do this, and that's how you actually win from your competitor. So that's a couple of solutions if you have a very niche audience and if you want to go niche, which is a good thing. Then number 4, trust-based. So it's harder to actually get someone's details if you don't know someone. So of course, if you are doing paid advertising, or you are doing cold outreach, cold email, cold calling, and you want to get access to their documents, chances are that they're not going to give you their text files and their books if they don't know you yet. So as I said earlier, you want to get access to the documents ideally before the first appointment, and it can be a little harder simply because if I see an ad online from someone, an accountant that works with people from my industry, and they ask me to give them access to their books, there's no way I'm going to give it to them if I don't know if they are a legit business, which can suck for you, is because then your whole sales cycle takes longer again. Now, a couple of ways that you can actually solve this little downside is having testimonials, review, certification, and also personal elements. So, of course, testimonials are so important, because if you just have a video or a client interview like I have, then that cannot be faked. So you just want to have as many videos as possible, and also, of course, also reviews, so that people actually see this is real. And in the ideal situation, testimonials, like a review can still be faked. You can still ask your neighbor to leave a review. And for example, if you work with multiple countries, you can oftentimes not even have a Google My Business, because that's for local companies. So testimonials is a great thing, so that you can actually do the research. You actually need to show to your potential client, hey, actually, this chiropractor over here also work with me. Here's their name and their business, so that you can actually see that they are a real company. And of course, that increases trust, so people are more likely to convert, but you can also just win their trust easier. Also with reviews, if someone has a couple of 100 5-star reviews, you will simply trust them more than someone with only 1 5-star review. Also, show certifications. If you have a CPA, if you have a QuickBooks Online certification, then of course show it. Put it on your wall when you have a Zoom call that people can see it, or show it on your landing page and your website. And then also personal elements. If you can just have a video of yourself or a YouTube channel, then people can see, okay, well, this person is actually putting itself out there, and this person is a real person. It's not like an AI generated photo or anything. So those are all ways that you can actually win the trust from people if you are doing online advertising, so that you can speed up the sales cycle and also increase the sales conversion rate. Then number 5, price shoppers, because people think all service providers are the same. So accounting services, tax, and bookkeeping are kind of a commoditized service at a service level. So a lot of the people that you will talk to, especially if you are going to do tax preparation for individuals, they don't even really know what you are going to do, and they think every accountant is doing the same things. which sucks for you because then you are sometimes competing with companies like H&R Block. If you are doing tax prep, we of course all know that H&R Block is going to have a way lower quality service than an actual accountant. And I'm not saying that H&R Block is not good for some people, but if you own a business and you want to grow it, then an actual accountant, of course, is way better. So what you need to do to actually communicate to price shoppers and actually make sure to differentiate yourself is having specific targeting and call outs plus pre-qualifying people before scheduling. So with price shoppers, it's a lot of individuals or people who just simply don't understand what accountants do. And by having a specific target audience like an industry, a niche, you can actually call out what you will do for them. So let's say that you work with construction companies, you are going to do job costing. If you can, in your ad and your landing page, communicate how you are going to be different, people will actually pay you more. They will not expect you to charge $300 per month, since you actually tell them, hey, I'm going to do job costing for you so that you can increase profit margins by 10% for every job you do. And if they will, because of this, make an extra $1,000 per job and then do 2 jobs per week with their whole company, they're not going to expect you to only charge $300 per month. Okay. So having a specific targeting and call outs for those industries will help to differentiate yourself. Also, having pre-qualifying before scheduling. If you schedule everybody and in the beginning, you may want to do this because you want to have a good understanding of which types of people are currently engaging with your ads. But then after you had a couple of meetings, you see, hey, these people are not really what I'm looking for. Then it's just simply best that you are only going to let people schedule if they answer specific questions away. So what you can do, let people schedule a meeting, and then automatically before the appointment is confirmed, they need to fill in a survey of like 3 questions where they are going to fill in indication of their revenue, the needs of their services, and what industry they are in, for example, or maybe what if they use QuickBooks Online, and if not, if they are willing to switch, if you do only work with QuickBooks as an example. And then if they answer those questions the wrong way, so they don't want to switch to QuickBooks Online or they don't have a business, then you just automatically cancel the appointment. So that's kind of how you deal with price shoppers. You just sometimes need to communicate better what you do so you can differentiate yourself, and sometimes you just need to qualify certain people. Now, then number 6, this is kind of similar, but it's harder to differentiate yourself. Again, you just never really get the opportunity in a ad which may have like a 30-character headline and a couple sentences to actually differentiate yourself, which can be harder, and therefore also you will get more price shoppers. So if you are advertising for your accounting services and you will see 10 different ads for accountants on a service level, those can be very similar. Most of the ads, they will talk about tax savings, staying out of trouble with the IRS, and growing the business faster. And it's harder to differentiate because nobody's going to actually read the whole essay on why you are different, right? So that's why you want to have specific USPs, unique selling points, niching down, plus also split testing. So if you have a specific USP, so something that makes you different, then the service can still be on service level the same. But for example, if you only work online and you have a very secure cloud portal and people can reach your team by calling and they directly get a great answer, and if you know that that is something that you worked on and is different from other firms, then just put that in every single ad. So if you are doing the same services as your competitor, but you know that your competitor doesn't have such a secure cloud portal and support, then just have one sentence where you can say, this is what we have. And most of your competitors will not have a unique selling point. Even if you think, but this is not a huge thing, it doesn't matter if it's a huge thing or not. The only thing that matters is that you have it and that your competitor doesn't, which makes you different. So that's a big thing. And also niching down. Of course, niching down can be part of your USP. You can just tell them, hey, I can do medical billing. I can do the job costing for your company, which then directly makes you different from your competition. And also the split testing. If you have a specific audience that you are targeting, you just need to do split tests. Some audiences, they care more about efficiency, and others care more about having low cost, high margins. So for example, the construction industry cares a lot about cash flow. Well, I can imagine that a dental practice doesn't really care that much about cash flow. They know it's important, but they care more about profit margins, as an example. So yeah, you just need to split test certain pain points and desired situations in your ads so that you can see what resonates more with them. In certain areas or in certain industries, people may care more about tax savings, while others care more about staying compliant. So, for example, if you work with people in the cannabis industry, they maybe don't care that much about tax saving strategies, but more about compliance strategies. So you just need to split test certain messages. And then number seven, last but not least, complex services can be hard to explain. So if you have an amazing service and you know you've worked so hard on it and you have a very great service that is really good for a very specific type of person, like a higher individual person, right? However, it can be kind of hard to explain. So let's say that you have tax saving strategies for people switching to an S corp, and there are certain things you need to explain for it to make sense. Again, nobody's going to read an essay on why this is a great thing for them to do. So there sometimes is some complexity with explaining what makes you different and why your service is a great investment, which then sucks because it's harder to actually communicate why you are different, even if you are different. Great solution to this: video ads plus simple benefit and pain point ads. So with video ads, people tend to not read very big essays, but they are okay with actually watching a quick video. So if you just have a video where you also have subtitles so people can listen, they can also read, they are more likely to actually consume the content because it's also easier to actually consume video than a big text, right? So this video may be like 20-30 minutes long. Chances are, if I will send you a document, like a PDF, which will take you 20-30 minutes, you will probably not read it, but the video is just easier to consume. It's more entertaining. So video ads can work really well, and you also need to talk about benefits and pain points. So if you have a great service about tax saving strategies for high individual people, then it's better to just talk about the benefits and the pain points instead of the process. So I can talk with you about that we help accountants doing Google ads and Facebook ads and landing pages, AI automations, following up and everything, and softwares and this and that. People don't care. People care about, I will help you get more higher revenue business clients so that you can take better care of your staff, maybe pay off some debt, reinvest, and take better care of people around them, right? So you want to talk about the benefits and also pain points. You want to talk about that they maybe don't have the time to do their own tax and accounting. You want to talk about that they maybe feel a little bit insecure that if they are doing it the right way, and that they are a little bit afraid that the IRS will be on their door and tell them that they all of a sudden need to pay a lot of money. You want to make sure that you talk about those things because that's what's actually resonating with them. And they don't care about the process, they care about the benefits and getting rid of those pain points. So if you have a very complex service and it's hard to explain, don't talk about the thing that you do, but talk about what it will result in and what you are actually solving. So those are the 7 things why accounting for advertising. So those are the 7 things why advertising for accounting firms can suck, the downsides, but also, of course, how you can solve it. So if you are an accountant and you enjoyed the video, really appreciate it if you leave a like. If you have specific questions, leave a comment, and of course subscribe to not miss any other videos. If you are an accountant and you want to get more clients but you simply don't have the time or the expertise to do it, or if you just don't like to do the marketing, then there are 2 links in the descriptions. The first link, you can click on it if you want to discover what it exactly is that I do and how you can potentially work with us in a way where we only profit until you do. And the second link is a link you can click on to join a free Facebook community to network with other like-minded accountants. So really appreciate that you watched the video. I really hope that you learned something from it, and I will see you in the next one.